Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Can't wait to dive into this Wednesday episode here on the Cabral Concept. Love to be able to talk about body transformation on Wednesdays, overall wellness. Well, for all of those, sleep is one of the most important items that we focus on in the de-stress protocol. You know what I talked about in the rain barrel effect, what we use in our practice to help even the hardest cases in order to heal. But today's episode is also dedicated to the individuals that are not able to really turn off their mind at night for various issues. There's four main reasons. I'm going to be going over those four reasons right now and giving you four simple steps. So let's dive into it. First and foremost, I'm going to go through three different problems you might be dealing with your sleep. If you're dealing with anxiety and stress, if that's the issue, right? You're worried and you're stressed and you're anxious and you can't turn it off, and that's why you can't sleep. Best things that you can do is to focus on resonance breathing. We need to switch from sympathetic nervous system stress. So autonomic nervous system branches essentially in two directions. Sympathetic nervous system, that's fight or flight. Or parasympathetic nervous system, that's rest and digest. We need to move to rest and digest, right? So what do we need to do? Feeling anxious, feeling worried. Everything comes back to your breath. I learned this many years ago, and it was a life changer and game changer for me. It could give you a million tips for a million different types of breathing. The very best breathing in the world is breathing in for 3 to 4 seconds and breathing out for 5 to 7 seconds. That's all. Just resonance breathing. And if you can, I've got, why don't I do this? I'm going to link up a YouTube video. It's free. So it's not even my YouTube video. I just send it to clients sometimes. I do recommend the Elite HRV that I spoke about before and the Polar heart rate monitor so that you can really work on your heart rate. So I'll link up that podcast as well, because I don't know how much the heart rate monitor is, but let's say it's like $70. Yes, it's an investment, but the app is free, but then you have it forever. And it's a great way, literally, to see yourself move out of the sympathetic nervous system. I learned this from Heart Math Institute many years ago. My mentor, Dr. Pete, taught me that back in like 2007. So really grateful that she introduced me to Heart Math. Anyway, it's an amazing way. It's my number one way to calm anxiety. Meditation is great, but a lot of people when they're anxious, difficult for them to meditate. Way easier for them to focus on a circle that's expanding out and then decreasing in, right? So breathe in, 3 to 5 seconds, breathe out, 5 to 7 seconds, and then you just repeat that for 1 to 3 minutes. Amazing. It decreases blood pressure. It decreases heart rate. It increases heart rate variability, which is what you want. It shows your body moving to the parasympathetic. Okay, so that's amazing. Besides that, other supplements that can be very helpful, magnesium, right? So product we use is full spectrum magnesium. We know it works. It's guaranteed to work. So that's one. Ashwagandha, something we use in what's Adrenal Soothe, is a great one. Okay, next up, if stimulants are the issue, so stress and anxiety, now maybe these stimulants are causing the stress and anxiety, right? But if stimulants are the issue, we talked about this actually last week and we talked about it earlier this week. Nicotine, believe it or not, can be something that calms people down. It really can. That's why people smoke much of the time, or oftentimes it calms them down. Here's the issue, that nicotine can increase epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. And we need to calm those down in order to be able to sleep. So maybe it calms us down. Maybe it calms anxiety if some people are smoking. But here's the other issue. You may not be able to get to sleep. So I'm worried about that for people because a lot more people are turning towards nicotine, not just in cigarettes, but they're using patches, lozenges, etc. I think, let me just check the show. It was yesterday's show, right? Yeah. So yesterday, episode 3336, I talked about much safer alternatives to nicotine. I'm not saying nicotine is dangerous, but hopefully you did tune into my pros and cons of nicotine. That was episode 3329. So every day, trying to give you about 12, 15 minutes of a show that's just giving you more and more health information for you to accumulate. And then of course, share for who you feel it's relevant for. Okay. So we've got nicotine. We're going to cut down on that, but there's also caffeine. A lot of people don't realize, they still don't realize, and it's okay because there's no education on a Starbucks coffee, right? Or any of these coffees, is that you don't really want to do more than 200 to 300 milligrams a day. That's it. I mean, that's a good amount. And if you're sensitive to caffeine, should only be in the morning before, call it 10 or 11 a.m. Some people can get away with a 2 o'clock coffee. Usually you don't want to do after 1, but here's why they can get away with doing a 2 p.m. coffee, because the half-life for many people is about 6 hours. So that takes it till about 8 p.m. when you're trying to ramp down the body. But if you found that you're not sleeping right now and you are having an afternoon coffee, you might not think it's affecting you, but it could be. It's certainly not helping you. We'll put it that way, because it's ramping up those catecholamines, right? It's ramping up potentially norepinephrine, cortisol. So what I'd love you to be able to do is just switch over to maybe in the beginning green tea or a decaf coffee, or check out my podcast on how to wean down off of coffee and caffeine naturally, just little by little each week. And I give you the exact percentages. So we'll try to link that up again. Today's episode 3337, all show notes, all takeaways at stephencabral.com/3337. All right. So we need to decrease those. And then in the meantime, what could you do in order to decrease the stimulants? 2 things, GABA and L-theanine can be really helpful. About an hour or 2 before bed, you need to give them time to work. You really do. So ideally, you're stopping eating 3 hours or so before bed, 4 if you can. Then a couple hours after dinner, you take your amino acids away from food, and then that can get into your system a little bit better, and that can be really helpful. Product we use with GABA and L-theanine, again, the Adrenal Soothe, but also a product called Sleep Help Support that contains 5-HTP and pharma-GABA, which is just the cleanest form of it. All right. So that's that. And then, the lifestyle is to get rid of that caffeine after the AM hours. Okay. Number 3 is this. If overtraining, meaning like hard exercise, is the issue, and that's why you can't sleep, what do we need to do? All right. We need to move our hard work, hard exercises to before 5:30 p.m. So if you're ending your workout at 6:37, could be too close to bed. And it is for many people. I know it is for me. So I can't work out really. There's like a sweet spot where if I end my workout by around 5:30, I'm good. If I do it at 6:37, hard for me to ramp back down. It really is. So it's a very rare occasion that I would do anything that late at night, almost never. And for most people, they'll do better with the AM hours. For many people, they can do a fasted early morning workout. But I actually talked about this on a podcast I was just on the other day. 2 to 5 p.m., great time to work out. Cortisol levels are down. Testosterone levels are able to rise uninhibited by cortisol, and can be great for exercise workouts. Also, body temperature is at its best. Reflex, meaning agility and the mind-to-body connection is at its best between that 2 and 6 p.m. hour. So that can be really great. All right. Let's say that you do have your workouts a little later in the day. What do we need to do? We need to try to push back the other way. So for some people, believe it or not, post-workout could be a cold plunge, or it could be a hot bath an hour or 2 before bed, at least an hour to an hour and a half, and that can drop body temperature. It doesn't work for everybody. It does not work for me. I will tell you that. But that's why I'm giving you all 4 ways, because you'll find out what works for your body. And I know for me, I can't even do a sauna or a steam after really 6 o'clock at night. My body gets ramped up fairly easily. You may already know that about me, but that's why I've tried. I've got a great steam at my house. It's filtered water. It's all that. Great to do a steam, an hour, half hour before bed. Doesn't happen for me because the heat increases my heart rate, and my heart rate doesn't come down. It comes down from exercise, but not from overheating the body. So my body doesn't cool down as well. One thing I found about my body is the way that I'm able to get 90 minutes of deep sleep is to really cool the body. So for me, it's making sure that my bedroom is cold, and also so that I don't freeze my wife out of, my own bed, is that I only sleep with a single sheet. That's it. Now, my wife is the comforter, all that, and it's at the bottom of my bed. If I need it, I can just pull it up on me, but a single sheet, that's it. I really let my body cool down, and that's important for me to kind of get in that zone. Magnesium, again, is another one. A great one to calm that sympathetic nervous system is taurine as well. Taurine should typically be taken at a good amount, about 1 to 2 grams. So it's not like it's a small dosage, but that can be helpful as well. That would be maybe pre-dinner. That would be a nice one as well. Or if you have to, post-exercise or during exercise. All right. The last one is this. If you are someone that has difficulty transitioning from day to night, meaning you have that COMT issue maybe. And you don't need to test for it, but you're just like, I have difficult turning it off, right? I have difficult transitioning into the calm down phase of the evening. That's me. At least it used to be me, right? So I'll tell you, I was a complete insomniac through my 20s. Like all of my childhood, all of high school was 3 to 4 hours to fall asleep. That's not an exaggeration. People think it's an exaggeration. Complete insomniac. Some nights I just never fell asleep, just the way that it was. Horrible time falling asleep. Well, I didn't know I was deficient in so many things. B vitamins, specifically B12 methylcobalamin and B6, very much so in magnesium. I was eating very close to bed. I was eating, chocolate and other stimulating foods before bed. Like it wasn't a good scenario. I was a kid. I was a teenager. I had no idea, like literally no idea. Anyway, what I want to share with you is this. There are ways though for people like me and maybe you as well, in order to better transition from day to night. Here's a couple of my best tips. You've already heard some of these, I'm sure. Let them be reinforcement. I wake up with the sun. So for me, it allows me to easily reset my circadian rhythm. Sunlight is touching my skin and going through my eyes. And when that happens, the body knows it is time to make sure cortisol levels begin to rise. This was very important as I was doing my whole de-stress protocol for when I had Addisons disease and of course, insomnia. And you're not going to fix Addisons disease if you don't fix your insomnia. They kind of go one and the same. So that's one thing that I did. But even more important than that, because I could use a wake light, and the wake light worked in the wintertime in Boston because it's gray sometimes all day long. So I used the wake light. And I know that's not always the best thing because of the extreme blue light and all that. But I'll tell you, it worked during the early AM hours when there was no sunlight to be seen for like 4 months of the year, right? So it's important. But even more so, even if it was pretty gray, you would see somewhat of the sun dropping in the sky and you would see somewhat of a sunset. So the sunset for me is key. Being able to at least look out a window, if not preferably taking my dog for a walk and watching that sunset, watching the blue light obviously is greatly diminished. We get the greens and we get the reds, right? We get the longer wavelengths telling our brain, right? The pineal gland and other parts of the brain, which I'm actually teaching in IHP3 right now, is to signal to the brain, it has switched from day to night. For humans, we are diphasic beings. We are meant to essentially be up and awake from like 7 to 7, right? Or on from 6 to 6. But then we also need 12 hours off. And that starts to calm and cool the body. Hopefully, the heart rate starts to come down eventually. The blood pressure will come down. That will come down once we get to bed. And then our body temperature will come down as well. So really important, but also mimic this in your house. So you saw the sunset outside, but you can't come in. And now you've got all these LED lights and everything, right? So what do? In my house, lights get dimmed, but also we put on the sea salt. We put on the salt lamps, I should say, the amber lights. So we've got amber light bulbs for my daughters in their room. They can read a half hour before bed. That they know that's part of their wind down routine. Half hour before bed, the salt lamp goes on in their room. I have a salt lamp and lamps in my room, and then my office has a salt lamp. So just again, these are things like air filters. I accumulate them over time, but now we're not getting exposure to all of those blue lights. And so that's a very big thing that I do. Another thing that I try to do is put on a little TENS unit, a little clip on that tragus. I believe it's pronounced tragus of the ear, that little pinch point right in the front. And you can then stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So half hour before bed, I like to read. I like to put on that TENS unit, calm my sympathetic nervous system. Again, take off your socks. Make sure you're able to cool your body temperature. And then biggest thing for me though too, because again, I want to be honest, same within a half hour the same time every single night for bed. So I'm training my body of what time it goes to bed, wake up within a half hour the same time every morning. I take Adrenal Soothe, which contains ashwagandha, L-theanine, and phosphoserine. Phosphoserine shuts down cortisol. Same with ashwagandha, but not to the same degree that phosphoserine does. And then I take a small dose of liquid melatonin. It has been an ultimate game changer for me. So again, not for everybody, but for me, works fantastically well. What do you use? Well, you use the dose that you need to fall asleep, but then use the lowest possible dose in order to maintain results. For some people, they can come all the way off. For some, they may need it. Usually use it for anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks, slowly taper down to the dose that you find is best for you. I maintain it. I use a small amount. I use something called liquid melatonin. Again, all the products I use are at stephencabral.com/shop. But as always, please work with your integrative health practitioner or whoever you'd like to work with. You find the right products for you, but I open source everything at Equalife. That's at stephencabral.com/shop. And you can just read the ingredients. So you can see exactly what I use at exactly the dosages that work. And they've worked now for well over 300,000 clinical appointments that we've done. So one of the largest functional medicine integrative health practices in the world. I just want to share with you the data as to what really works for people. And hopefully this was helpful. So all the links will be at stephencabral.com/3337. I can't link up nutritional supplements, but I can link up previous shows. The nutritional supplements, you already know the link. The previous shows will be at stephencabral.com/3337. Have an amazing day, everybody. If it was helpful, do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.